joining us. And the recording is in progress, so be aware that this will be available as a recording after if you want to rewatch it or refresh your memory or share it with any friends and colleagues who might be interested in the Rocks Awards. So we have a pretty packed agenda today. First, Chris Lynch is going to talk about why are the Rocks Awards important. Chris Lynch, APR fellow, PRSA, and our chapter advisor, who's been very involved in the awards for a long time. And then Chuck Cyril and Jim Wilson. Chuck is from the Ohio Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission, and Jim is from the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association Foundation. They will talk about what makes an award-winning entry. The Turnpike Commission and the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association Foundation were the winners of our Best in Show award last year. So they have quite a few good tips on that. And then my name is Sydney Stone. I'm the chapter president and helping out with the judging for this year's event. So I will be doing a demo of the Judgify platform and kind of giving some tips and tricks on, you know, what to keep in mind when you're putting in your award and how you can make sure that you utilize the platform to the best of your ability. And then we'll have a Q&A and we will finish it up before noon with the Q&A. And then of course, anyone who has joined this meeting, you will be in a drawing for one free entry, which is about $70 to $75 value. So thank you all for joining. I'll get a list of that at the end, and I'll send out an email to everyone at the end with all of the information and then who got the free entry as well. Please feel free to ask questions throughout. And Jocelyn, if you wouldn't mind keeping me honest if there are questions in the chat, because I don't think I'm going to be able to see everything with all of my screens right now. So I'd appreciate that very much. All right, let's move on to our first order of business. So Chris Lynch is going to talk about why the Rocks Awards are important. Turning it over to Chris.
Thank you, Sydney. Everyone hear me okay? Okay, good. There's some nods. So this is the 21st anniversary of the Cleveland Rocks Awards. And pure and simple, why do you enter awards? Are they for personal reasons, team, your company, agency recognition, bragging rights, maybe just a justification of planning and creative execution? And by the way, they really are pretty cool trophies. Pure and simple, the Cleveland Rocks Awards are results oriented, not for pretty pictures or, hey, that's a cool idea. They are for awards that were presented on campaigns, programs, projects that really were produced results-oriented activities and numbers that justifies why you spent the money to do them in the first place. Frankly, they're very hard to win. These are not ones that are offered up with multiple awards from multiple categories. There's one gold, one silver, and very often, as many of us know who have entered, there's not even a gold or a silver in those. They're independent, third-party judged, out of state. That's not means our different agencies are also presenting and honoring these with people they know. These are judged by APRs and other professionals, I think down this time in Sunshine District down in Florida. So nobody knows anybody who's judging these. These are all very independent. And frankly, the Rocks Awards are a stepping stone. You can use your nomination, your background, everything that you've done here for this local regional award to enter the national PRSA Silver Anvils, which are really, really quite prestigious. Next slide, please. The bottom line is doing a Rocks Award allows you to take a critical look at your own work. You sort of have to go back and say, did we really achieve what we were trying to achieve? It forces you to go back over each step of the process. As a result, you become a better practitioner. You create proper, measurable objectives. You may not have used all these when you first started out, but did you realize what they call the SMART, S-A-M-A-R-T objectives? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and were they time bound? What did we learn from the project? Did we achieve the results that we set aside and wanted to do early on? Did we really learn from our research? Did we even have research? Or how did we do the research to come to the plan and the strategies that we ended up going down the road with? Would we've all done this all again as we look at the project after it's all said and done? What were the measurable objectives? What did we really achieve? And as we evaluate, how else could we have done a more successful program. The bottom line is doing an awards program like this, especially the Rocks, makes you write better plans. The end all is a return on your investment for your hard work. One of the things that you can use for award programs is one of your KPIs. As everyone goes into each new year, you have individual and team KPIs, your key performance indicators. An awards program like this, were we honored by our peers? Did we achieve our results? Can also work to help out with your individuals. It justifies your thinking, your budgets, your justification for the project in the first place. And bottom line, if you do achieve a gold or a silver award, is it possible to turn that around into a bonus opportunity? Maybe it's just giving more money in your budget next year. Maybe it's expanding upon your team. Heaven forbid, it might be something that you individually get honored because, after all, in the major leagues, if you win an MVP or make the All-Star team, I recall there's a bonus involved in that too. Next slide, please. People like to work for winners. They're drawn to. It helps you retain, recruit, and reward your teams. It's recognition of good work within your workplace and of your own individual activities. Awards are one way to call out your employees for a job well done, to celebrate your successes, and to pass those on to those who may have paid for them, certainly in an agency or client situation. Next slide, please. Finally, it demonstrates your expertise. I know it says that in the slide, but it shows that, well, you know what? You've done what you set out to do. From a standpoint of an agency or whatever, it creates new business opportunities and positions you versus your competition, especially on the client side. Yes, it does provide some peer recognition, and that's always good to know, to rub shoulders with fellow winners and things. But in this day and age of, personal and team achievement, it certainly goes a long way in building your own brand. And again, outside of Northeast Ohio, these are some of the most prestigious regional awards known out there. And I'm going to turn it over to Chuck.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everybody. My name's Chuck Searle. I'm with the Ohio Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission. We're located in Berea. Just as an encouragement for our audience out there, if you have any questions, I just want to relay to you an anecdote. Chris, you may remember this. At our summer get-together, ahead of this award entry period in 2022, do you remember my conversation with you, telling you about the Ohio Turnpike was involved in this community service project, but we were a member of that organization? Chris, do you recall that conversation?
I better say yes.
Yeah, great. Well, the point of me bringing that up was, if anyone has any questions for us, we're always available. Obviously, the board members are available to answer questions. So in our particular entry, the Ohio Turnpike actually served as the so we entered, but we represented a client, and that client was Jim Wilson and his team with the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association. Jim is on the line, and the reason he's on, he was instrumental, and obviously, before you can actually have a winning written entry, you have to have a winning idea, project, and pull that off. So with that, Jim's going to talk about. Jim is the chair of the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association, of their foundation. And again, the Ohio Turnpike is a member of that organization. And Jim, with that, you want to talk a little bit about, the planning and research that went into this project?
Absolutely. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Every year for our maintenance conference, we switch cities, but we look to do a annual day of service project. It usually involves somewhere between 50 and 80 people. We raise anywhere between $25,000 and $70,000 for these events. And as you can imagine, it takes a lot of planning, not just to ensure that all the projects are set up for success, but that we have fundraising in place, that we have all the materials, the resources, and that we're working with good, solid organizations that are reputable and deliver back to the community. So we started out, I want to say early February, maybe March, for the project, to reach out to a number of the members of your community to search out these good charitable organizations. And we found one with the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Ohio. When we met with the staff, the one thing that they wanted to do, aside from cleaning up the property and generally improving the overall appearance and experience of their members there, but the one thing they wanted was an outdoor basketball court. And we all got focused on that particular goal, put it in our sights, and made it happen on both the delivery of the project and the raising of the funds to deliver the project. The kids were beside themselves happy the day they got to roll out of the gym and get outside and play basketball outdoors.
I'll talk a little about the written process now. So with a strong plan in place, as far as the written part goes, again, we were in the community relations or cause campaign. You really have to, I'm just going to go through, the entry summary. So, what we did there, we spelled out the whole campaign. So basically the entry summary was a true summary of the situational analysis, the research and planning, implementation and execution, evaluation, and so on. So the way we wrote it up is, keep in mind, you're having judges from a sister PRSA agency judge these. So you want to make it as concise and logical and easy to read as possible. So with the most concise entry summary, you go to situation analysis. The things that Jim just mentioned. Obviously we had a great team. We were the hosts of this organization. Our staff worked with Jim and others. So I'm talking about just the research and planning before it even got to the communications, media outreach side of things. Obviously, we're still baking the cake, right? So, and then obviously the icing comes on later. So I'll get back to the icing in a second. As far as, writing up the entry, you want clearly defined goals. Obviously define your audience. Obviously for us, getting to the promotional side of it, communications, obviously the messaging was a big part of that. Jim went over the research and planning, what it took to get the project off the ground. And one of the things I really want to stress, and again, making things easy for the judges, when you outline your measurable objectives, we used Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, and 4 in our entry for the measurable objectives. And then we replicated that Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, and 4 again in evaluation. So, keep in mind, judges are reading a lot of these entries. You want to be concise. You want things to match. You want things to be logical. You want however many measurable objectives you have. We had 4 in the evaluation. We had 4. So the judges could easily see what corresponds to what, how the objectives were met. In addition to that, when you can prove in the supplemental file uploads and other URLs, whether it's proving your social media outreach measurements, or in our case, one example for a supplemental file upload we had to support, which provides proof that we did achieve the earned media to achieve the goals that we outlined. We had a TV monitoring report from a third party that validated the 30 broadcast clips we earned. and then additionally, in addition to that, wherever you can enter, the news release or blogs, everything that supports, what you did in the supplemental sections, photo galleries, additional works, blogs. We organize that in a very easy to read headline and link. So the judges, basically had the most concise entry, very clearly everything, the objectives, audience, again, the entry, the situation analysis, the evaluation, the implementation and execution were all clearly outlined in the most concise way. And then obviously we back that up with all the evidence. Anything else? Sid, you want to take it from there?
No, I think that was great advice. Definitely from what I heard, and I agree with you, making it as easy as possible for the judges to understand your entry, and making sure, I liked the tip to parallel, the goals and objectives with the same numbering for evaluation, because that really helps. I've judged many of these awards for other districts, and I know that sometimes, you're reading sometimes 10 of these and they get a bit, everything kind of bleeds into each other a bit sometimes. So you want to make it as perfectly clear as possible, showing, the goal or the objective, the evaluation, how you met that, or if you didn't meet it, why that happened and what you learned from it. Like, you don't have to have a picture perfect campaign for all of these necessarily. You don't have to have hit every single mark to have still a good score, but you do need to explain, some of the evaluation behind that and what you learned for the future as well. So I think that's important to note, and a lot of what Chuck is explaining will make a lot more sense as I go through the Judgify platform, which is the next part of the agenda. But I do want to pause here and ask, are there any questions for Chuck at the moment about, how they entered the awards? And I do want to say Best in Show is the highest scoring entry of all of them. So last year, I think we had upwards of 75 or 80 entries. It was quite a few entries. So Chuck's entry got the best out of all of those. And that's like the big award at the end, where you get this, as you can see on the screen, this really beautiful guitar is the trophy. So it's always a guitar every year. And then we also have two other special awards in addition to the regular, like gold, silver, bronze, and that's judges' choice. So the judges choose which one they think they liked the most or they like the best, and that's kind of an arbitrary one. And then there's top tactic as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's the top scoring tactic that was entered into the competition as well. But any questions for Chuck before we move on? I thought this is a really great way to kind of understand what you did to make this a really great entry for last year.
Thanks, Sid. Yeah, and for us, obviously this project, the award in itself was, quite an accomplishment for the Ohio Turnpike and IBTTA, obviously, to be recognized among our peers. But, also just as important, this project built a stronger community in greater Cleveland, and, it'll positively impact the lives of children, as well as, the volunteers. Obviously, a big part of the IBTTA project is these volunteer projects, and those volunteers that restored that facility will be forever connected to the community.
Yeah, that's great. Jocelyn, is there anything in the chat question-wise? I can't see it, so I just need you to tell me.
No questions.
Okay, well, if there are no questions at the moment, we can move on. Thank you, Jim and Chuck, for being available to speak about your entry. It was truly an excellent entry. Okay, so we're going to do a quick Judgify demo now. All right, can all of you see my Judgify, the Judgify website? Yep. Okay, I see heads nodding. So this is the live website for 2023. It actually is live right now. We're not planning on sending out an email opening registrations until July 10th, but I will say within this group, if you do want to start, you're very welcome to. It is live. We can start taking in entries pretty much from now until our entry deadline is August 4th, but it does officially, we'll send out the email to promote after the holiday weekend because, you know, we know a lot of people are taking some time off. But either way, I'll just kind of go through this step by step. So this is what you'll see when you come to the home page of the entry section. So we have, you know, the criteria here, which it'll go into far more detail once we actually start submitting entry. But this year's awards feature, we have one refresh category actually to help earn recognition for best work yet. And I'll explain what that is in a minute. And your campaigns and tactics must have been completed between January 1st, 2022 and July 1st, 2023. So a couple days from now is the deadline for when the work should have been completed or is, you know, ending at that time. So it's about 1.5 year time frame. And as Chuck mentioned, the entries are scored based on this criteria. So we have the situational analysis, which is only about 10 points. It's really just a description of what the campaign or tactic is. And then we follow what we call the RPI process, which is something that you'll hear a lot through PRSA, which is, you know, basically how people create communications campaigns or the tactics that support them. RPI stands for research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. There are a couple other acronyms that you might hear here and there, but that's the one that we use. And it is consistent also with the accreditation and public relations, the APR guidelines. So one thing that I have found beneficial about the ROX Awards, in addition to like winning awards and stuff for the work that we do, it helped me prepare to take my APR exam and also to complete my APR presentation. And it helped me become accredited because I was able to take work that I submitted into the ROX Awards to use for that process. So that's just kind of another little perk that I like to share with people. We do use the same process, the RPI process, for evaluation. So as I said, this portal will officially open July 10th, although currently it is live. So you can find the link at judgify.me/ClevelandRocks2023. And then we will send out plenty of communications reminding people that this is open and ready to submit. And we'll do an official call for entries on July 10th. The regular, or what we call the early bird deadline is July 31st. 2023. So the end of July, I believe that is a Monday. And then we'll be doing an extended deadline August 4th. Entries do go up a bit when the extended deadline, if you submit between the early bird and the extended. So just something to keep in mind, try to get your entries in quickly, early, so you don't have to pay the extra $10 per entry. And then of course we do have $75 per entry for Cleveland or Akron members and press club members, and then non-members $85. The extended deadline that goes up by $10 per group. All right, so let's kind of go through the process of submitting an entry. So when you first get to this link, you may be prompted to create an account. So I already have an account because I've used this platform before to submit in other years, but it's really pretty straightforward and easy to do. So once you create an account, now then you can go up here and submit an entry. And it'll take you to the first screen, which will basically just kind of tell you to like fill out your name. So the first screen, because I've already registered, I don't need to put that, I don't come to the first screen yet, but when you first do an award, it'll ask for your name, your company, if you're a PRSA member, and just some like basic stuff like that. And then you'll go to this next screen, which is the actual submission. So I will say I am a PRSA Cleveland member. And then I'm just going to put some test information in here for the sake of time. Let's say I am submitting a campaign. I'll click on campaign. Now, these two, they technically allow you to put in something for both. However, if you're just doing a campaign or just doing a tactic, you should only choose a campaign category for campaign or a tactic category for tactic. In the past, we've had people not realize that and put in two of the same thing. But we do ask that you only choose either one campaign category or one tactic category. So let's say I'm doing a crisis communications campaign. You put in the title of your entry, the org, and then if you have a client that you're submitting on behalf of, you'll put your client's name. Now, I work for the Federal Reserve Bank, so my client is the Federal Reserve Bank, so I wouldn't have to put in a client name. I would just be putting in my organization's name. And then here's where you start kind of putting in all of your entry. And I recommend that you don't type directly into this box to do the entry. I recommend that you do your entry in like a Word document and then paste into this box. As with any cloud-based platform, sometimes things get a little buggy, and I would hate for you to, do all of that work putting in your entry and then click, save, and then something happens. I've been there before. It's truly tragic. So I do recommend creating all of your entries in a separate document and then pasting it into the program when you're ready to submit. So for the entry summary, this is just a couple sentences that we would use. If your entry wins an award, at the award ceremony, we have an MC, and they'll usually say like, this next one is blah, 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 and they'll explain what the entry is. That's what we would use the entry summary for. So it just has to be a couple sentences, just briefly summarizing what the entry is. It could be, this crisis communications campaign from the Federal Reserve was something we did to combat media related stuff around interest rates. That's just something that's come off the top of my head for the Fed that we might have put into the portal or something like that. So just a couple sentences. The next one is your situational analysis. Remember, this is 10% of the score, 10 points. So it's really just a summary of, what is the main situational analysis, all that stuff. And then you get into research and planning. It kind of explains like, and below it explains each of what you're supposed to put in the different sections. So describe the situation, goals and intended audience, detail research, measure objectives, strategies, and planning process. Implementation is describe how the plan was executed, including all tactics, address the quality of work, all of that. And then evaluation, review the success of the program, including metrics and method of evaluation for the measurable objectives. So that's kind of the bulk of your entry. And I'll just put in some test sections here so that we can keep going. And then this is where you put in your supporting material. So this section here, it's a single best image that represents your entry. This is required because, again, if you do win, we would like to have an image that represents your entry that we can use on the PowerPoint presentation. It could be a logo from your company. It could be an image from, the event you did, or whatever, whatever kind of aligns with what you created here. And I'll just put an image of my cat. And it'll upload. And there we go. My cat is now my supporting material image. But you can use pretty much anything here as long as it's, representing of your campaign or tactic. And then again, the public entry description, you can use the same one that you have in the entry summary. It's pretty much the same thing. But again, just a short sentence statement that might be read by the MC at the award ceremony. And this one's even smaller, max 30 words. So if you do, when you put in the entry summary, maybe just taking a sentence from the entry summary and putting it down here. And then this is also where you upload your peripheral stuff that that, Chuck mentioned, he uploaded like a Word document with all of the media mentions. There might be video, and I can explain a little bit about that in a minute, but anything that you want to include to support your entry will go in this file upload section. And there are 6 opportunities to upload. So it can be a PDF, it can be, a Word doc, it can be an image, that kind of stuff. Now, as noted here, videos are not supported as uploads, which is a real big bummer. However, you can publish your videos to YouTube or Vimeo, and you can even do it privately on a private link if you want to. And we've added this URL link down here, so you can add links to those via, YouTube or Vimeo, and that shouldn't be a problem for the judges to look at. And if they do have an issue watching, we'll make sure to contact you and see if there's any other way we can get access to the videos so that we can make sure your items are judged appropriately. But that's kind of the deal for video. Excuse me. So at the end, you can save as a draft if you want to kind of go back to it, or if you want someone else to come in and look at it. And you can keep these as drafts up until the deadline to submit. If you're putting in multiple entries, you don't have to submit them all until you're ready to submit. So I will explain that in a minute. But let's say you only wanted to do one entry, you can just say confirm, and then you go to the next page. If you wanted to do a new entry, you could say confirm and add new, and that would take you to another blank section. So I'm just going to save as a draft for now, just to kind of show you what that looks like. And it always makes you check that you're not a robot. Okay, so this is in my portal. I have one draft entry here now that we just created. If I want to delete it, I can hit this. If I want to duplicate it, let's say you want to enter this entry in multiple categories. You can do that if you want to. So you can duplicate it. If I want to edit it, I'll go back here. And then if I want to view it, I'll go here. But as you continue creating entries, and you can submit a new entry, and then the next one will just show up right underneath here. But I'm going to go to complete submission. So it'll take me back. And then I'm going to confirm. Okay, and then it says my submission has been saved. So now you can see that it says submitted, ready for payment. Now at this point, I can still go in and edit if I want to. I can edit up until the time I pay for these. So let's say, okay, I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to proceed to payment. So you have 2 ways to pay, either through PayPal, which adds a 3% charge because there's always charges for PayPal or credit card, or by check, which would be, if you click the check payment, you would just say check payment and confirm. It would show up in our system on the back end that you will be paying by check. And then you would need to send the check to our chapter administrator, whose address is on our website. And one of us would probably reach out and just remind you that this is where the check goes. There you go. So if you want to avoid fees like PayPal fees and stuff like that, you can just pay by check. If you don't care about that, you can pay by PayPal, and that will be directly deposited into the Cleveland PRSA account. So I'm just going to say I paid by check because we're doing a test right now. So I'll confirm. And then when you confirm, you will get, this is my personal email. I will receive an order confirmation email at my personal email. So whatever email that you set up your account with, you will receive the order confirmation at that email. And that's really it. I mean, that's kind of the whole process of going through a entry. It's fairly simple. But of course, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Jocelyn, are there any questions in the chat?
Yes, there's one question in the Q&A.
Okay.
Someone's asking, do we have a Word document or a PDF of the fields to help guide the entrance?
That's a good question, and I'm pretty sure we do, but I will follow up with everyone on this call about that after the meeting is over, because I know that we do have like the guidelines for the judging that are very specific that we send out with like the call for entries, but I need to check back on that and find where that is. So the answer is yes. And if we, for some reason, don't, and I'm just imagining that we do, then I will make sure we create one, because that would be very helpful. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Okay. And again, remember, like, so this is both for campaigns and for tactics. Oh, I forgot to tell you all, I just reminded myself. We do have a new category in the tactics section. Last year, we kind of rehauled all of the categories, so they're pretty up to date. But we did add a new category in the tactics section, which is best use of TikTok, because TikTok is very much part of the mainstream now. So if you can see, and we have also a list of all of the campaign categories and the tactic categories, which I'll also send out to everyone. So you can see, you know, we have quite a few different things. We still have the COVID response categories, since our frame of entries is from 2022, January 2022 to July 2023. And, you know, we were still kind of in the pandemic in 2022. So the campaigns really focus around, like, you know, there's crisis communications, external DE&I, internal. We have just an internal category as well. We've split up events by different sectors to make it easier for people to, you know, enter and be able to be competitive in those areas. We also have integrated communications campaigns that are broken up into different industry sectors, internal communications, media, local, regional, and then media national as well, and then regulated government communications. So that's under the campaigns category. And then the tactics, these are things that you can enter that could be part of campaigns that you've also entered. If you really had like a really special blog post or something that really went viral, or best use of an influencer program or something like that within a campaign, this is where you would enter those specific tactics. So let's say, I don't know, I wanted to do best use of Facebook page or something, and then you would just go through the same process. But like I said, we added TikTok here as a new tactic, and we have quite a few, both like legacy media and newer media things as well. So that's kind of how all that works. But yeah, so best use of TikTok was the only thing we added that was brand new as of this year. But last year we did do quite a few new things. Let's see. Quick question on check versus PayPal. If paying via check, must payment be in hand at the time entries close August 4th? There is a grace period for checks. So we will work on making sure, you know, people know the address to send the checks to. And if it's like, you know, you're like, oh, I just put it in the mail or it's on the way, you know, if we don't get it by exactly August 4th, we're not going to like disqualify you or anything. So no worries on that. Any other questions? Okay, hearing no other questions, I will just end this program with some upcoming deadline notes. So this year, our event is going to be at Gordon Green on November 14th. Our theme is Rock This Town. It's going to be a great event. The planning team's already, you know, well on their way to planning the event. Like I said before, the Judgify Rocks portal opens July 10th officially, However, you are very welcome to, look through the portal and start drafting up some stuff if you'd like to. We have the early bird deadline is July 31st, and then the late deadline is August 4th. Remember, the cost of entries does go up about $10 per entry for both members, non-members, all across all categories. So try to get your entries in a little bit earlier if you want to save a couple extra bucks. And then, yeah, please do note the date of the actual event, November 14th. I'm going to pause one more time to see if there are any other questions, but if not, we'll end right on time at just before 12:45. I know I said this would only be about a 45-minute meeting, and I'm very proud of how well everyone's done with that. Oh, one more question. Will the list of categories follow this webinar? Or so yes, both. We will share the list of categories to everyone on this call, and they'll also be shared July 10th. And on our website. So we'll make sure it's very, very clear what all the categories are, what you should be prepping for and all that. So we'll try to make sure it's on every possible place we could have them. Okay, that's all I see in the chat. Q&A, okay. I think we're good. So if there are any other questions, again, we will send out the recording for this as well as the slides, and then all of the information about, the categories and all that directly this afternoon. I will commit to by the end of today personally to send this out to everyone on this call by this afternoon. And then of course we will also draw the one free entry this afternoon based on who is present on the call. So look out for that. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, or contact our chapter administrator, Lynn. All the contact information is on the website, on our PRSA Cleveland website. And please do prepare your companies and your colleagues, for entries officially opening July 10th. And we'd love to get some more non-members to also enter as well, because I think it's always interesting to see what other companies are around Cleveland and what you can compete for when it comes to that. Awesome. Okay, thank you, Jocelyn. So that wraps up our program. I appreciate Chris and Chuck and Jim for being able to speak about the awards. And I also want to give a big shout out to Jocelyn Clemmings, who is moderating this meeting. Jocelyn is one of our VPs of communications, and she's been super helpful and excellent with all of this meeting stuff and making sure that I can actually share via my computer, which is always a harrowing experience. So I appreciate it very much. And we will conclude for today, but please look out for more communications from us today and later next week, and of course July 10th when we officially open entries. Thank you all for attending, and have a great Thursday and a holiday weekend.